Well, the Denver Nuggets, who literally just 2 years ago ran through the NBA playoffs to the tune of a 16-4 run, seemed to have a playoff window that was wide ass open. In that very playoff run, their, at the time, 28-year-old, two-time league MVP Nikola Jokic became the first player in league history to lead an entire postseason in points, rebounds, and assists. Since that 2023 playoff run, he has done little to show any signs of slowing down, winning his third league MVP last year and in the summer following a semifinal playoff defeat at the hands of the Minnesota Timberwolves, went on to become the first player in Olympic basketball history to lead that tournament in points, rebounds, and assists, and that was on his way to leading Serbia to a bronze medal. Just more of the same for the 29-year-old best player on planet Earth, Nikola Jokic. But in a sport where we have increasingly seen more and more examples of mentally weak scrubs with an inability to win challenging championships, the rising narrative surrounding titles in general is that it is a team accomplishment. And while I fundamentally reject this premise, the supporting casts these players have to deploy and the expectations for those superstars when factoring in that cast versus the assortment of talent on teams surrounding them must also be taken into account. The most skilled big man in NBA history, Hakeem Olajuwon, the only player ever to win an MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, a championship, and Finals MVP in the same season, retired after 18 NBA seasons following the 2001-2002 league year, and is still 13th all-time in scoring, 14th in rebounds, 10th in steals, and is the all-time leader in career blocks. That is top 15 all-time in 4 different statistical categories. Yet he only won 2 titles throughout the course of his illustrious career, while festering away in Houston with subpar supporting casts. In fact, the Dream only made it out of the first round 7 times in 18 years. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Hakeem 2.0. The most skilled big man since the Dream, Nikola Jokic, who in the last 4 seasons at the age of 25 through 29 is averaging 26 points per game, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists on 59% shooting from the field. While he is nowhere in the remote vicinity of the quality defender Hakeem Olajuwon was, he is exponentially more skilled of a passer and general offensive facilitator. And in those 4 seasons, Jokic has won 3 league MVPs and finished runner-up in the 4th season. But now it seems his franchise has slammed his championship window shut in his face, relegated him to the same fate as Hakeem Olajuwon, destined to finish with a meager title count at the end of his career. Because the puny market in which he plays has also made some laughably pathetic decisions in the front office, the most recent one being extending Jamal Murray to a max contract of 4 years and $208 million. And adding it to this final year, Murray is now linked to the Nuggets for the next 5 seasons to a tune of $244 million, a contract which will pay him $57.5 million in the final year at the age of 31. That's nearly $60 million for a guy at 31 years of age who can barely play 60-something games now at 26. The last we saw Murray in the playoffs, he was scoring 20 points per game on 20 shot attempts a night, barely cracking 40%. Wait a second, check that. Sorry, last we saw Murray, he was dragging his bum-ass leg around the court in Paris for the Olympics, where he averaged 6 points per game on 29% shooting from the field and 14% from 3. That's the guy. That is Jokic's alleged max contract star running mate. A guy with literally 2 elite playoff runs in his 8-year career who is the very definition of a decent or good NBA player. Jamal Murray has never one time made an All-Star team. He never one time made a single All-NBA team designation. In fact, his only career designations to this point remain a 5th place finish in Rookie of the Year and an 8th place finish in Most Improved Player his second season way back in 2017-2018. That's it. That's the list for a guy soon to be making $50 million a year. And for some additional context and perspective on the mediocre career of Jamal Murray to this point, his 17.5 points per game, 4.5 assists, and 3.7 rebounds on 45% shooting from the field look pretty damn similar to D'Angelo Russell. Don't believe me? Read him and weep, trolls. Russell is averaging 17.8 points per game through his career, 5.8 assists, and 3.4 rebounds on 43% shooting from the field. Russell, though, at least has an All-Star appearance to his resume and is only 1 year older than Murray. And again, this is the guy. This is Jokic's top running mate, while his other criminally overpaid third option is currently playing out a 5-year, $180 million contract with a 15.7 point per game career average, 6 rebounds, and 1.2 assists. And yep, you guessed it, Michael Porter Jr. also has 0 career All-Star appearances or All-NBA designations in his career as well. And for some additional context on him, last season, Porter Jr. averaged 16.7 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 1.5 assists on 48% shooting from the field, while Austin Reeves averaged 15.9 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, and 5.5 assists, also on 48% shooting from the field. See where I'm going with this? In addition to those two players, though, LeBron also had Anthony Davis, who was a top 10 player in the NBA last season. In fact, the only player in the entire league to make an All-NBA team and All-NBA defensive team, finishing second-team All-NBA and first-team All-NBA defense. Yet LeBron, the alleged greatest player of all time, apparently didn't have enough help. Yet Nikola Jokic is expected to win championships every single year, or his year is viewed as a complete and total failure. Jokic, who of every player to win a league MVP in the last 40 seasons, dating back to the 1983 league year, he is the only one who has never played with a single All-Star or All-NBA designated teammate throughout his first 9 seasons. The only one. Yet he has already been out of the first round 5 times in his 9-year career, including 2 conference championship berths, and he won an NBA title already. This is despite his mediocre to subpar supporting cast. Speaking of which, in addition to breaking the bank on marginal NBA point guard Jamal Murray this offseason, his organization, the Nuggets' big moves included trading up 6 slots in the first round to draft Deron Holmes out of Dayton and finally add some kind of a backup to Nikola Jokic. Unfortunately, he ruptured his Achilles in his summer league debut and is expected to miss the entire season. The Nuggets, of course, also lost starter Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to Orlando with no path whatsoever in replacing him. And finally, their big splash, adding 35-year-old Russell Westbrook, fresh off of career lows across the board this past season in points and assists, averaging just 11 points and 4.5 assists per game for the Clippers. And all of that amid an ever-expanding landscape of absolutely stacked teams surrounding them in the West, with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who finished with the second-best record in the NBA last year, substantially bolstering their roster this offseason with key additions of Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. The Timberwolves, meanwhile, who played in the Western Conference Finals last season, retained their 2 All-Stars from a year ago in Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards, along with their 2 All-NBA defensive players last season in Rudy Gobert and Jaden McDaniels, while somehow flipping an unprotected 2031 first-round pick and a first-round swap in 2030 with the San Antonio Spurs Spurs for the number 8 overall pick in this draft, Rob Dillingham out of Kentucky, who is seen as arguably the best creator and isolation scorer in the entire 2024 draft class. Then, of course, there is the other Western Conference finalist and the team that ultimately represented the West in the NBA Finals last season, the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah, well, they added to their star-studded duo of perennial all-stars in Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving by signing Hall of Famer Klay Thompson to the mix. Meanwhile, out east, the embarrassingly loaded defending world champion Boston Celtics, with 20-point-per-game scorer Kristaps Porzingis as their third leading scorer, bring back their core, including Drew Holiday along with Derek White, who both made the Olympic team as 4th and 5th options in Boston. And that's not even mentioning perennial All-NBA first-team performer Jason Tatum, along with last season's Eastern Conference Finals and NBA Finals MVP Jaylen Brown. The Sixers, meanwhile, pulled in top free agent on the board for Joel Embiid this summer in Paul George, making George the third option on that team to go along with transcendent all-star and 2024 most improved player in the league, Tyrese Maxey. Hell, even Giannis Antetokounmpo finally got an elite running mate in Dame Lillard. All of it while Nikola Jokic will be rolling out a player with the replacement level value of D'Angelo Russell as his top option, and an extraordinarily thin bench behind that. And yet, countless Jokic-hating, know-nothing buffoons will be waiting in the wings, trolls under their bridges to criticize him when his trash-ass team predictably falls short this season. While these same cretins are the ones uplifting their fake GOAT, pleasuring themselves to a loser that has jumped teams to amass multiple different super teams in his prime while crying and begging for more help season after season. These two things are not the same. Perhaps you should appreciate true greatness while you can, though it is pretty damn apparent you won't be able to do so very deep into the playoffs for many years to come.